ask everyone, but were you in school at that point?
Yeah. Well,
Public school?
half and half. We took high school, I think it was sophomore year, we decided to just go. It was called independent study. It
Yeah.
wasn't completely homeschool. Basically what they do is you go to school once a week and they don't teach you shit, and they just give you a stack of papers to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it was like I go home and I'm like, I have no idea what is happening right now. Like, and I would try to basically get everything done like the night before, and it was so much work. It was like so much work to do, but we did it. So, and that was that. That was that. It's terrible, but and honestly, it was kind of good. One, because as much as like there's good and bad parts of Stockton, like it was weird stuff. Like it was, I mean, being public schools in general, I know are just gnarly. Like they're just bad. Like they're
Yeah.
just straight bad. Every time you see something on TV, it's like some kid shot up the school or some kid got beat up. And it was, they used to have when I was in school, from freshman year, it used to called White Wednesdays. And it used to be these black people basically had like they would have video cameras, and they would see this little innocent white kid, and they'd go into basically the bathroom and beat the shit out of him and record it. This was going on for like
horrible.
a half year
No shit.
in school. Yeah, called White Wednesdays. But it was crazy. Like the schools that I was like super segregated. It was like the Mexicans, the local gangs here. It was like fucking prison.
That's crazy.
Never been to prison, but it was like something like that. And it wasn't like, and that was the better school. Like I think I'm not saying anything bad about Stockton, but it was just like that's just the way of schools. Like that's how it was.
Yeah. I don't think it's a secret. Stockton's like a tough place, right?
Yeah, but I
Generally
mean,
speaking.
but like I said, I wasn't like I wasn't in drive-by shootings. I wasn't in a bad neighborhood. My parents like, I wasn't just eating cup of noodle every day. Like my parents did their best to like, provide for all of us. But that's how the schools were, man. It was just a different
And that's
era.
high school for you?
That was high school.
That's insane.
Yeah, that was high school. So, and actually, I got caught out. Like as much as, I
Did you ever get beat up?
never got beat up, man. I know how to work this thing, bro. But I started hanging out with the wrong crowd too at that time. It's like, say racing actually kind of helped me kind of get out of that rut.
Yeah, keep
I
it
wasn't doing bad shit. It was just like I was just hanging out with the wrong crowd. Started ditching school, hanging out with these kids, just like going to the park and hanging out. It's like, fuck.
Smoking cigarettes?
That's one thing I didn't do, dude. One thing I remember. So freshman year, started hanging out with these bad group of dudes, like just bad as in just like ditching school, didn't go to school, right? And I remember my dad right before I was walking out of the house one day to go to school. I remember my dad was like, I was up to no good doing something, either ditching school or something. I don't remember. And my dad just like looks at me. And this was the one time I got the backhand. My dad's a big dude. It was like, and just his voice scares the living hell out of me. Like he doesn't even need to do anything. That's why I never got like, there was no physical abuse as a kid, but it's just his voice. Like, dude, you hear his voice. I'm scared to death to hear his voice now if he yells at me, but it was that one backhand that changed the game for me. Busted lip, everything, like just the
What'd
one.
you say? Like, what'd you say?
I didn't say anything. Just took it on the chin, cried. That was it.
But why? What was?
It was
did he
because
know?
it was because he knew I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. I was doing dumb shit, skipping class, all that stuff. Just a kid, being a punk kid with a mustache, dude. Just a worm with a mustache, man.
I can't wait to absolutely, because we have a picture of it.
Do we?
Yeah,
All right,
Bo's
I love
got it.
I
It's
love
the
it.
best picture ever, and it's coming out.
Oh, is it?
It's gonna be the cover.
So did you ended up graduating though? You got through
Yeah,
it and
I did
the whole
all
independent
that.
study
If you
deal?
call it graduating, I barely did, but yeah,
You got a
did
degree.
that stuff.
Do you feel like staying in public school that long gave you some different perspective though? Like I know for me, I graduated, went to public school all the way through, and I think like you definitely get a little bit of a different background or just different understanding of different people. And like obviously racing is a small community, so if it's like all you know is racing people, you don't really get that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you got a little bit more?
Yeah, because I was working too, like right out of like sophomore, maybe senior year, but it was good that I didn't hang out like at public schools, honestly. And because I was always gone too, like racing, like me and my dad was always doing something or training, doing something. And I feel like it was good to get
Yeah.
out of school. Just because of the shit going on in schools,
Yeah.
you know?
Did the other
Y-
kids know that you were like on your
Yeah.
trajectory?
Yeah. I mean, kinda. I mean, as
Yeah.
kids, you're just like, oh, you're just not going to school to ride your motorcycle, huh? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, but I'd probably been a lot smarter if I would have stayed in school, you know. But you know, it helped me out. I felt like, you know, and yes, you do only know your racing community, but I also work the jobs, you know, so you meet people outside of, you know, outside of the racing world, and you know, just did other things too, you know.
But I also think like going to public school has benefits. Like I truly believe like seeing the stuff you saw like also gave you skills to not be involved in it, you know, and be like, do you
Just
know
be
what I mean?
aware.
Be aware of the situations. You see kids that now that like don't go to public school that just have no idea of danger.
It's it's
You know what I
great,
mean? Like
yeah.
there's no sense of aware of like, hey, this is probably a bad scenario. They're so like just so innocent and just sheltered, I guess.
I So my wife basically, she's a perfect example. Like I'll say like, "Hey, have you done this, seen this, or heard of this?" It's like she's so green to like life. Sometimes I'm like, "Fuck, I can't believe that I've witnessed and done this and just crazy stuff that like just growing up one there, going to like the public schools there. It's just like the generation and just like it's crazy at what like I feel like I've kind of seen and been there, done that as much as I know everybody kind of says that, but I feel like I have, you know what I mean? Just like just all the stuff I've either seen or done or just kind of just grown up, man.
Yeah.
I'm still growing up, but yeah.
A lot of different perspective. I think
Yeah.
I do think though, like it's true. I think racing. I talk about it with my girlfriend all the time. Like, if I didn't race and growing up where I grew up, still going to public school, like I don't know necessarily where I would have went with life. You know,
Yeah.
like it could have very easily, if you don't have like that one like kind of like light at the end of the tunnel type of thing, like dragging
Yeah.
you in that direction, like what the other directions could have looked like.
Yeah.
You know, and you always think, okay, like, I'm a good person. I wouldn't have done bad shit or something like that. But it's also like, you know,
It only takes one. It only takes one person to feel like to drag you in a spot, and then you just start going around in a circle. And if there is no, like, if you just go and work somewhere in your town, you never leave. I think that's one of the biggest things. The number one thing I think racing does is being able to travel out of your state to see a different, if you want to call it culture or whatever, like just to
Oh,
see
yeah.
like different, like when we always used to come, like, dude, like the Californians versus the northern, like it was a way different vibe. You know what I mean? And it was always interesting to understand. And I remember when I went and stayed with Chad and at his house, and
It's just different,
it's
man.
different.
Especially where Chad lives in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
dude. It's just different. And I'm a big believer in you are who your friends are. I'm a big believer in that. Like you see these good people hanging out with these shitbags. They're gonna become that shitbag. You know what I mean? So, and what was cool for me was obviously the racing brought you to all these different places. I've stayed in a lot of different states for periods of time. So I got to learn how to acclimate in different environments, different cultures, all these different people. I stayed in Florida for a while, stayed in Madison, Wisconsin for a while, lived in Atlanta for a while, lived in SoCal, lived in NorCal. I kind of lived and been there already. So I kind of got used to different things and how people work and stuff like that. And that's what's most people know me. People think some people, I'm like, oh man, he's like just like he's a shitbag. He doesn't want to talk to you. And I get along with most, like literally 99% of the people I could get along with, you know, because you just growing up, you just everybody's different. You just kind of change how you say things and change how you do things around certain people. Like you could be corporate one day, you could be a shitbag the next day, and you could just be in the middle the next day. You know, it's like you just always, you know, you just got to change with the program, man.